1, 2, 3.
Tag Beam Podcast, back again with another episode. You are joined by myself, Ola.
And also Anton.
Yes. And we've got an interesting episode because it's slightly different. Now, we usually have our kind of conversations, topics. It's along that same theme, but I have got quite an interesting theory and sort of a set, and sort of a set.
I raised my eyebrows.
You raised that eyebrow, just listen.
I have no idea what to expect on this episode.
So I guess it's a standard topic, but what we're going to do is look at various sort of scenarios and how to deal with those.
Right.
So this episode is titled Trolley Theory. Now, trolley theory is essentially thought experiments in ethics. So this has been going on for over 5 decades, where people look at certain scenarios and situations and will basically put their opinion on the right decision to make. So I'm going to start with the classic trolley theory. So you've got a trolley going on a track. One of those trolleys is one of the ones where they used to kind of hold coal. So this is sort of back in the day.
Yeah.
It's going down the track, and you are a bystander, and you can see that trolley is on its way to hit about 5 workers. They can't hear what's going on because they've got their earmuffs on to protect them from the sound of what they're drilling or whatever. However, you can see that you're standing next to a lever, and that lever will divert the sort of trolley from hitting those men to hitting just one person. And the kind of query goes that what is the more morally ethical decision to take? Is it to let the trolley kill those 5 people? Remember, the key word is letting it. You're not actively doing it. Or go out. Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, because that's where it gets difficult. Or actively going out your way, pulling the lever, and actively killing someone.
Oh, so do you actually be a true bystander and let fate decide the outcome for those 5 people? Or do you stand in, pull that lever and save one person, I guess?
So if you
save 5. Yeah.
So you're either actively
kill off one person.
You're standing there and going, you know what, you man were gunners anyway, or you're going, you know what, for the benefit of saving 5, I'll go out my way to kill that one person. So it's one of those ones where there is no definitive solution, but it is interesting because there are so many sort of back and forths and right and wrongs and what is morally right. It's a tough. To be fair, it has come across a lot of backlash in recent years, and that a lot of people have said this is such an extreme example.
Pause. Who came up with this theory and why?
It was more philosophers.
Okay.
So there was kind of roundtable discussions. Literally.
What do you do?
But to be fair, Anton, it does, and we're going to go into this in a bit more detail. In varying degrees, again, that's quite extreme, but in varying degrees, it does happen in society today. It is happening. So we can't, although that's quite an extreme example, it is happening, and I will give you some examples later on.
Yeah.
So we have to kind of be like, you know what, it's extreme, but this is happening in life right now. So what can we do? Is there even a way where we can stop and save all 6 people? That's the thing. That would be the ideal sort of silver bullet to the problem.
Someone might even say that you have to kill all 6. It's literally just...
Yeah, no, that has been said. I guess, first question, tough question.
That's morally right, that's the question.
That's no
question.
That's what I'm saying. So I guess first question to you is, in that situation, that classic trolley theory example, how would you deal with that and why?
There's so many layers to it.
There's so
because you could be like, each one of them has a family.
Each one of them
are attached to something. Someone's going to miss them or something along that line. But they all could be 75 years old, and that one person could be 18, so full of life, hasn't even lived life. So there's so many factors. Or it could be the other way around. The one person could be a 85-year-old man, and then the 5 people that I could potentially save could be 19 years old.
Let me make it really difficult for you.
But let me just give you a simple answer. In terms of numbers, I'd rather say 5 people, just to keep things simple.
Yeah. So you would actively, because that way technically.
Yeah, I can't be. I think it's a hard decision. You're gonna have nightmares about it regardless, because you're gonna be like, whatever option you take, you could be the person, option A, sit and watch, but then you're going to have to be the one giving that account of, I was just stuck in a difficult position, so I just let it be.
Yeah.
Hey, you're this, you're that.
Yeah.
Can you deal with that? Number 2, you save one person's life. How could you do that? That's wrong. And then you're going to be thinking, maybe I could have saved 5 people's lives. Or you choose to, save those 5 people's lives. Oh, how can you do that? My one son, my only child. Ooh. There's no right decision.
That's the thing. This thing is like, this is where it gets so difficult because there's even a sort of term for people called deontologists who argue that it's best to do nothing. Because their kind of logic and thinking is, by you actively, or by you pulling that lever, by you acting,
that's
you are
precisely the reason why I've never heard the role before.
That's the thing.
They're
doing, but the man just there. Like, a man's a deontologist and a vegetarian.
Yeah, so what do you do? Not a lot.
No, look, just not much really, because if you actively do something, but to be fair, I get the point they're making. They're saying that, look, 5 or 1, you have actively gone out your way to kill someone. Yeah, and it's
Final
difficult.
Destination style.
Like that's the movie that comes to mind. It's a difficult one because there are so many different layers.
Maybe that's what it's built on. Final Destination.
Probably. Someone was watching the movie. You know what, Terry? It's a tough one because even away from that, they've kind of like padded it out in many different scenarios. Like I know there's one where it's called the Fat Man version of that, in that you're on a bridge this time.
So okay.
There's a fat man who, you know that if you push the fat person in front, he will stop, hit the trolley slowly will ram into him, and you'll save 6 lives. Do you know, this is where it gets, because you can just push this out to so many different levels, and it's like, come on, what are we doing here? But again, I think for me, this thing is an example of quite extreme theory, but the underlying point in relation to ethics.
You saving?
Me? To be honest, I think I'd pull the lever.
To save...
So I'd go out my way to pull the lever, kill 1 person to save 5.
Okay.
It is tough because I could be Hitler could be in that 5. And this is where it gets difficult in that, because remember, this is a split-second decision that you have to make in such a short period of time. You're standing there, you're on your lunch break, minding your business, texting your sweet one. You turn around, you see the man, then, what?
Ain't it the same scene in Dark Knight Rises? With the 2 boats with the 2 prisoners. There's like the civilians, the normal kind of...
Oh, yes,
people,
yes, precisely.
And there's a boat full of like prisoners.
Precisely.
And they've both got like this kind of bomb device, and they have to press it to go and blow up the other boat.
That's the thing.
And they're like, what do we do? What do we do?
The thing is, there's ethics in that, because the people in the civilian boat were like, well, they're prisoners, you know, they've done wrong. They've done wrong. They've made mistakes, but they shouldn't get to live. Whereas the prisoners were also like, you know what? We ain't doing nothing. We deserve to live as we're human. And it gets so tough. And I guess one example, or sort of a further tangent off that, is called shielding. In that, say someone's trying to kill you, right? So I don't know. They've in a similar saying where you're on the track now, you can see someone that doesn't like you, has got the lever next to them, and you see them actively pull the thing. But hold on, there's more. You have a gun. You have a gun. And you see they're trying to actively kill you. Are you within your right to shoot that person?
What I'm thinking is, you're dead.
Well, you or them?
You are. So whatever decision you make...
Self-defense. I'm thinking self-defense.
It's not self-defense.
If someone's trying to actively kill you...
Oh, so you're stopping them?
Yeah. So no, so I'm not, so yeah, so you're...
I thought you meant they already pulled the lever.
Oh no, so you can see they're about to pull it, and you can see them...
So they smile at you, be like...
So like, oh, that brother Anton, he ate my lunch. Yeah, and you can see them actively...
sandwich.
Oh, not the peanut, what, crunchy?
Yes.
They've crossed the line. Bust that gun. And it's so difficult because, not in that situation, I'll be honest, I'm pulling. What? It's difficult because these situations come up in everyday life.
No. You keep saying this.
No,
everyday life.
Okay, cool. Okay, let me give you a specific example. This is a tough one. This does happen. Abortion. A woman is raped. Yeah. Right, and I guess she has to make a decision in her pregnancy. So she's pregnant. She's been raped by a man. She wasn't ready for a child. She went to wait for marriage. That right has been taken away from her by a rapist. She has a choice for abortion. What does she do in that situation?
Is that morally right?
That's the thing. That's because you have people who will say that is a child. You have the right to kill that child. Some people will say, but that was forced upon you. Wow. And are you really going to raise the child of a rapist? Because the thing is, it's a very... I don't mean to kind of touch any nerves for anyone listening, but this is a real life example. This happens in society today, where people are in situations where they are forced to raise children from rape situations. Like, fair enough, it's trash TV, but I've seen cases on Maury where they've had this dilemma, and I'm like, this is actually quite a serious scenario. You're in a genuinely difficult situation. You wanted the child for a long time, you were happy to wait, this person's forced it upon you.
So, okay, let's take it, because that one's, poof.
That's what I'm saying,
Well,
heavy.
Let's say you've got traits of having sickle cell or some genetic kind of illness or some sort, and you know that the child will have it.
Yeah.
Is it okay to take that action knowing that your child may suffer?
So
or is it okay in the relationship?
So like, if I know that me and my partner have the trait, and if we get together, mate, our child will get into
yeah. Or is it okay to walk away from that relationship?
I think it depends on the individual. So I actually saw a tweet where...
Because in essence, it's almost similar to the, was it the trolley?
Yeah, trolley theory. This one's hard because I guess I've personally, and I saw a tweet about this where the person said he felt, because he told the girl he was a carrier and she was as well, and she ended it abruptly there and then, and he kind of felt like, why did you do that? But sort of a few years later he said, you know what, I understand, I get it. In that situation, if I'm being brutally honest, and it is a question that I tend to have in these situations, I think I'd walk away.
Yeah?
Because I'd feel selfish, because the scenario that I use is that at however many weeks where it's fair to maybe have an abortion, and the doctor said, your child will live for no more than 6-8 years, and they will be in the hospital that entire time in pain. And I've got into heated arguments and discussions because I've said, I terminate. Because I'm not thinking about my thing is, don't be selfish. You're not putting yourself in this individual's shoes. You want to bring life into the world knowing that this child will forever be in pain for the short life they live. That's, to me, again, this is, I don't want to go too, I'm like, but people have just said to me, you're wrong.
I guess you need to account for someone who's been through that as well, because they might actually live a painful life, indeed, but they might actually be happy. It's very hard to answer that, because it's easy from the outside to be like, I wouldn't want to live that life. Yeah. But if you're born like that, then it might just be, because there's a thing on YouTube that I recently came across. It's been around for about a year, and it's about blind people. Yeah. And they were like, would you change it? Or if you was to lose another sense, how would you feel? And all these sort of questions. And they're actually okay with being blind. You know, they've learned that the world is beautiful whilst being blind. But that's
I've heard this kind of discussion as well. And I completely respect where they were coming from. I think it's difficult because they were born blind, and that's what they know. But that's what if you ask a fully grown or an adult at 26 who lost their sight at 26, I reckon it would be a completely different.
No, there was one guy that did. Really? So there was an old guy, he's got kids.
What? Okay.
And he's like, the one thing that he does miss is not being able to see the emotions on his daughter's face. Yeah. But he's learnt that, you know, it's happened, he's just come to terms, come to at peace with what's happened. Damn. But yeah, I think there are certain things, I guess, in life that you're going to be faced with some difficulties, and you're going to have to make some tough decisions.
That is, what a topic. This is.
It's going to be a deep one, but there's not necessarily a right way of approaching it.
That's the thing. There isn't, again, I think the main thing is that there's no like definitive solution, because people will always have varying.
I think what is very difficult is knowing that you've got someone's life in your hands. Yeah. That choice. Because I think this is what leads on to, what do they call them? Driverless cars.
Yeah, that's what I was going to mention. Autonomous cars. Yeah. So that's the kind of. So you know we're at a point now where cars are moving to become.
Shout out Tesla. I'm waiting for my model.
Yes, Tesla.
Model X to be dropped. I'm waiting for it.
Elon Musk.
But I've got it just driving me around, and then there's a potential accident that's going to actually occur. What does it decide to do? Does it go and kill me off, or does it run someone else down?
But that's the thing. That's the sort of moral dilemma of our generation, is that we're at a point where we're getting to develop these cars, and we know that there may be situations where your car's going off doing 60, all good, slips off. It's either going to hit these three people and
zebra crossing,
or potentially the person in the car and one other person are gone. What does the car do? Who makes that
How do
decision?
you program
And who is responsible for that? And and I'm glad you mentioned it because it relates to, I'm sure you've seen it, Will Smith was in it, was it iRobot?
Yeah.
Where he was in that exact same situation.
Okay,
where the robot was programmed.
A number of commands.
This is the command in the sense where two people are in danger, save the person who has the highest likelihood of survival. Will Smith got pissed off, his character got pissed off because he was there in a car drowning with this young girl and he said, save the girl. Save the girl. She's young, she's got a full life ahead of her. I'm good, I'm 30 odd. I'm good, man.
It's crazy.
Save her. The robot was like,
there's a number of films that have that kind of same sort
it's
of
the same, and there's a reason because
Avengers, Age of Ultron. When Ultron comes through with his draping leg and arm, and he's like, you built me to like be better, to make the human race better, but you Avengers have war all the time, so like what am I supposed to do?
It's that moral dilemma, and I think it runs through a lot of
Is it
these
morally
films.
right to have robots?
That's the thing. It runs through. It's a theme that runs through because it's always. I think it will always be relevant to society at some degree, and it's a tough one because in that situation, if you're telling the Tesla, "Hey, look, I've driven you. I've done my bucket list."
It could be some racial profiling going on as well.
Precisely, because then look at what's a racial
profiling. Could
profiling.
be some serious racial profiling.
Because then look at how Will Smith in that movie felt about robots. He then lived the rest of his life with so much hatred towards these robots that were programmed to make a certain decision. And it's difficult because, again, we can expand this out to looking at poverty. Look at the fact that there's an argument for, is it right that people can become comfortably millionaires, billionaires, have all the money they want when there are people probably around the corner that literally have nothing?
Is it morally right that companies like Amazon don't pay major taxes, but
Precisely.
then every person will pay 20 to 40% on their salary?
Precisely. It goes into so many different areas of life, and it's hard to kind of have a definitive right or wrong, yes or no. I think
that's just the reality of life.
It's tough because even in these movies, these documentaries that sort of like David Attenborough, these sort of naturalists will do, where
what, the Animal Kingdom?
Yeah, that's real life. That's the thing.
Yeah.
It's real life because I remember I was watching one and this guy said he was a presenter.
Survival of the fittest.
Fam, this lion basically they killed these. I think they were hogs, and then you can see it literally. They ripped open the stomach, and they were like 3
Dinner
babies.
time.
Fam, babies.
Yeah.
The thing was just chomping it. You can hear the little thing screaming. The guy was like, I want to get involved, but we can't. Like we can't. And even to be honest, even I at that moment realized that we live in a cold world. Because the thing I like about the Animal Kingdom is that it's real. Everything you see is natural.
Yeah,
and that
prey, a predator,
the rules,
being hunted.
You're in the real jungle, and there are no rules here. And when I saw this lion eating this boar, the baby boars, hearing the baby boar scream, I was like, this is the real world. And this is what we see in our lives every day. It's like you said, this is the reality we live in where...
It's not that extreme. We do have some rules in place.
No, that's the real, it governs itself.
Yeah,
so I'm like, damn. It's not literally happening. People aren't being eaten like that, but I think maybe in a sort of financial sense or whatever morally way, these things are happening to a certain degree.
That term
It's
moral as well.
hard.
It's like, what does it even flipping mean?
Because it's subjective though, because your morals are going to be different from mine. And that's where it gets hard, in that we all value things differently. There are some people, again, bringing it back to this example, the trolley example, there are some people who will say,
morally right.
let the five die. Look, whether I was here or not, they were going to die. So technically, have I actually done anything wrong? That's morally right because it was going to happen. And there are others that say, but numbers.
Scenario.
Okay.
So you pulled the lever.
Yeah.
You decided to save 5 people.
Yeah.
Now you're being interviewed, or you're saying interviewed. So the police on scene are going, what was your reason behind it?
Yeah.
Are you going to use it? Explain what what are you going to say to people?
Basically, I think it would be along the stance of my judgment in that moment was to save the many in the face of the few. So I guess I would kind of elaborate on the whole Robin Hood theory. Steal from the rich, give to the poor. So that sort of theme of...
How is that connected to...
No, that's the theory. That's the theory.
Oh,
You're helping the many at the expense of the few.
Okay.
Kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I'm saving 5 at the price of 1. Someone's going to die. It's either going to be 5, and like you said, 5 families or it's going to be one.
It's a lot of power to
Quick
put into
decision.
someone's hands.
It's a difficult one, but I think we are, a lot of us...
Like, you use the term, it's morally right.
I don't think I'd say it's morally right.
I'd be wrong.
No, that's a bit, it's morally right, that'd be wrong. It's difficult because, again, there'll be people listening in saying, that's morally wrong. And others are saying that's morally right. That's why it's like, there's no right or wrong, there's no definitive solution.
What do you reckon about that politics where they have to make decisions based on a population, a country?
Yeah.
So they know that they're probably going to cater for some people.
Yeah.
Some people are going to be happy, but then also there's going to be like 20%, 30% that's not going to be happy. It's amazing that someone in such a high power can have such a power over people's lives.
So many.
Is that morally right? Have we given too much power to the higher beings?
It's a hard one because I think no, because I think in any sort of government or situation, I don't think that one person is ever fully in control or in power. Yeah. Like, I don't think, fair enough, he's the president, I don't think Donald Trump has the power to make any and every decision he ever wants to.
He can just send the tweets.
Yeah, Twitter fingers.
Tweet, he's bored.
But again, it's tough because this is a society that, for the most, we have created these systems and policies in place to give that one person the power. But then they are powerless without us. Who are they if we don't put them in power? And it's that sort of double-edged sword of you can't have one without the other. And it's tough because again, it can vary into so many different ways. And I think one of the sort of original theories for it as well is that if you look at a utilitarian judge, so say
pardon?
So let me give you another scenario. So say there's a judge, right?
Yeah.
Someone has been wrongfully accused of a crime, right? And the judge has a choice to let the person go or hang that innocent person. But the judge knows that if they let that innocent person go for the crime they did not commit, the way people will riot. When were the riots back in London? When were they? 2012.
13? Yeah.
13?
Yeah.
The damage will be 4 times that, and they know that 50 people would die.
11, I think.
It was quite a while ago, isn't it? But then they know that if they don't do anything, madness is happening. Madness. Again, it's along that same theme of what is the right decision. It's so this is hard. It's hard.
Council houses. It's all based on. There's like a level of processing that occurs with it now. There's a case-by-case scenario. So a person with an organ has just died. It's available. There's 2 potential people who need it. They start weighing up. They're going, okay, so this person, it's got 6 months to live. This one's got 12. We're going to give it to the one with 6 months. Or this one's 72 years old and the other one's 38 years old, so I'm going to give it to the 38-year-old.
Yeah.
A situation of living in, you say, a council house or support housing of any type. You know, I think you're going to be put on top of a list. You're going to be higher in terms of that list, in terms of priority, if you've got 2 kids as opposed to someone who's Just single.
If you've been on the list longer, it is, and that's quite a real one because we see that happening on such a high basis in London, where people will take advantage of that policy and structure, in that they will purposely go out and have a child to get bumped up on the list.
Yeah.
And it is, boy,
life.
This is an episode and a half. I'm just like, oh.
There's no end to it.
That's the thing. It's a tough one, man.
There's probably an end now because we're going to bring the podcast to an end. But like, there's no real outcome.
That's the thing.
It's a thought.
There's no.
It's a theory.
That's the thing, and I think it will always have that balance throughout society. There will always be that kind of push and pull, tug, pull the lever, don't pull the lever. No sort of definitive solution. I think one thing I personally want to hear from listeners is, what sort of trolley theories have you experienced? What trolley theories come to mind when you think about society now or how you're living? What sort of scenarios are there where you feel you pull the lever? And how would you deal with that situation? What would you do if you're sort of at a track and you see that you can pull a lever to save to save 5, but you know one person would die, or the other option is to leave the lever, not pull it, and the 5 people die that were going to die anyway. How do you deal with that? Definitely would love to hear people's thoughts on this. It is a tough one. it is completely understandably a tough one, but again, I think getting that conversation going, hearing people's thoughts is sort of quite important to us, and just kind of getting the message out there, so something for people to be aware of. On that note, we'll bring this episode to a close. Thank you everyone once again for listening in. We genuinely appreciate the listens, and you can find us. We can be emailed at info@tagmeanpodcast.co.uk. Any queries or scenarios that you're going through, any dilemmas, feel free to email those in. If you're comfortable with us reading that out, we will, anonymously of course. Again, reach out to us on our social media platforms, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, watch our videos on YouTube. If you are going to listen on Soundcloud or Apple or any other platform, again, feel free to leave a comment. We really appreciate it. And as always, guys, thanks for listening in.